Well, let's shuffle on now to our next topic, which is Warner Brothers. They did a
Yeah.
thing, didn't they? So there was the Warner Brothers Discovery earnings call, and just as a quick highlight on this, one of the executives anyway, bragged that the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes have saved the studio $100 million, which is hilarious. I
To
mean,
be fair,
it might have saved you that, but then it's still going to cost you that as well.
it did
Which is
actually. They kind of
your
offset
point
each other. that was kind of an understated part of the conversation. But I thought it was interesting that it wasn't an overt brag, but it was done with a lot more tact. In fact, I would say that Zaslav understands how to talk to everybody and talk to the actors, because he followed that up or preface it with the idea that they were going to hopefully have everybody back to work in September, which we know is patently untrue. But see, there it is. There's that's it. The top paragraph there says, however, CEO. Well, no, the top one. He went one down. There he is.
Yeah.
However, David Zaslav did follow up saying he is hopeful that negotiations can resume fairly soon, which is actually tomorrow, and he's looking like early September, which probably is not. But at least he's like trying to say the right things. And this bigger quote here, which I'll let you read in your lovely British accent, is more telling.
Yeah, so he says, we're in the business of storytelling. Our goal is to tell great stories with the power to entertain, and when we're at our best, inspire with stories that come to life on screens big and small. We cannot do any of that without the entirety of the creative community, the great creative community, without the writers, directors, editors, producers, actors, the whole below-the-line crew. Our job is to enable and empower them to do their best work. We're hopeful that all sides will get back to the negotiating room soon, and that these strikes get resolved in a way that the writers and actors feel they are fairly compensated and their efforts and contributions are fully valued. I think all of us in this business are very keen to figure out a solution as quickly as possible. We are in some uncharted waters in terms of the world as it is today and measuring it all. And so I think in good faith, we all got to fight to get this resolved. And it needs to be resolved in a way that the creative community feels fairly compensated and fully valued. A very down the line political remark. I will wonder how the mainstream media will twist this, though, because they seem to have a hard on for hating Zaslav. But you were on that call, weren't you? So
yes.
Do you want to tell us all about it? What happened?
Okay, so there's going to be a lot of ways that this is reported in the press, and it's fine. I mean, yes, they did miss a revenue goal by not a whole lot. It wasn't very substantial, but they did double their free cash flow by $1.7 billion. They had lower than expected churn, but the churn did increase, which means they were losing subscribers for their direct-to-consumer. Their direct-to-consumer business turned it around so hard that they are only $3 million in the negative on direct-to-consumer. Unlike Disney,
that's amazing,
who's turning in $500 million to $1 billion negative on DTC every quarter. Unbelievable turnaround. But they're working on higher valued customers for their businesses. So they're not rolling out globally in a way that's going to sacrifice their average revenue per user. In fact, they were touting the fact that it continues to grow. And if you look at it quarter over quarter, it has substantially. They also didn't have the kind of downturn in ad sales that other entities did as well. Even though they did have so it moved the wrong way a bit, they're still headed the right direction. They've also done some things that I really am impressed with as far as the global launch. They are going out and pricing their product properly. So with the minute somebody takes it on, they're going to have an even higher ARPU. And they did something that I think is key. They announced to the world, not directly, but they are going to do live sports on their streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a game changer. And again, a lot of this isn't reflected in a lot of the stories that you're reading, but they actually have the capability to do that immediately, because when they buy sports rights, they also buy the streaming rights. They don't allow for them to be broken up like Disney does and things like that. So they literally can stream anything they want at any time, which would include all the basketball here in the States on TNT or any of the other places that they can stream that. So they also did something that surprised me as well. They talked about and it like red is one of the first three subjects, which is usually the most important things they want to get to in the softball version of the presentation. They were trying to bring attention to their gaming. So they really want their gaming to get out there. They highlighted that the new Mortal Kombat game MK1 is coming out, and the success of Hogwarts Legacy, and they have other games getting set to come out in the very near future. I think that the Villains versus Heroes game, the Suicide Squad versus Injustice League, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't. If that's what it's called, I don't remember. They also highlighted that they won more Emmys across the board than anybody else, or they were nominated for more, 181. Then they mentioned Barbie, but they really couldn't go into it because it doesn't factor into the quarter that they just were talking about. And then and they are leaning back into old IPs in the future. Expect them to exploit all the stuff they already own. So
something that they said that they were going to do already, basically.
Yep. And they're making a massive shift. They're going to limit. They're going to make fewer tent poles, so they're not going to hamstring themselves financially, and just make more content. So it was a he said their tent poles are important as far as films go, but they're going to make just more films, less expensive. So very cool.
That's the way to do it, isn't it? Like you swamp the market with numbers at a lower value, so you get the potential profit share on the back end of it. Like that was what used to happen, and then they just went for blockbuster after blockbuster. Like every movie had to be a blockbuster of $1 billion. I mean, that's where the industry's falling apart.
Well, and this is something that Tom and I and Andre and I, or all of us, have probably talked about, but mostly Tom and Andre and I. They're actually leaning back into the idea of selling their content to other people to stream, like Netflix and Amazon and Apple.
I think your point there is a really good one, though, because if you look at it like Blumhouse, for instance, they release such absolute garbage dog shit most of the time, but they're like consistently in profit because the volume, the quantity of product that they release at such a low price tag, their profit margins are huge normally. You know, they're normally raking in quite a lot of profit. And so like Warner Brothers seem to be following that method, you know, going back to sort of that approach by the sounds of it. Is that about right?
Yeah, no, you spot on. And then they're doing something Disney used to do called utilizing synergy. So when you see a film like Barbie, it's advertised everywhere. It's advertised on sports. It's advertised everywhere. It's like one of their lower thirds graphics that's placed on the bottom of the screen. So they're using that across everything to cross promote everything that they have, which is one of the reasons that they attribute Barbie. That's one of the things they attribute Barbie's success to. And then they have stopped the divorce talk of splitting, of selling off some part of their company, like Warner Brothers or some parts of Discovery. They have stopped that conversation cold. So that's an interesting thing. But it's insane right now. They spoke specifically to the lower end trash, like the old school CW stuff. They're glad to be out of that business. They're no longer making that lower level garbage that devalues their brands. And they talked specifically addressing the other regional sports networks that have had trouble. They're getting out of that business and just leaning into what they control, like TNT, TBS, all that other stuff. They're stepping away from that business and winding it down. So there's that.
So, Andre, you're a numbers man. What did you make of it all? What do you think of all of that?
I haven't had time to research it, other than what the culture was saying. But referring what he said, there are some good signals here. I specifically, since they are oriented with making money, have mistakes been made so far? Yes, very obviously, no one is denying that. But I am much more optimistic on their behalf than for certain other companies, because they show a willingness to go with the market, to adjust to it, and to actually turn a profit. Culture,
No, I want to hit a sweet spot for you because you're gonna be able to talk about this better than I can. So they already, you remember they told you that they were going to be out from underneath about $2 billion worth of garbage, their cost cutting measures by 2024. They're already done with that. That $2 billion is done. Now they're gunning for
done it.
Yeah. Now they're gunning for $5+ billion.
Yeah, and that's something that I like, because it only goes to show that, we've done what we said we were going to do. And in the process of doing so, we found more ways where we can cut and be profitable. Right. Again, this is a proper turnaround. I don't know what has happened with the share price of Warner Brothers Discovery since then, but if I were so inclined and so geographically gifted without it being a major hassle, I would be like, I think this might be a good buying opportunity. Again, I'm not offering any kind of financial advice here, but just like,
apparently,
I'm optimistic on their behalf.
Yeah, they're
at a loss per share of 51 cents. Are they up now?
Yeah, they're up right now.
How much? You go.
They're up 0.33 basis points, and the percent change is a 2.67% upwards at the moment.
So I have less confidence in Zaslav as a creative company anymore as far as Warner Brothers goes. I'm starting to think they're just setting the company up for sale.
Yeah, I think so too. But in so doing, I don't. I like when those rumors came out that he's just he's just going to flip it. I'm like, you know what? That sounds extremely plausible. But in that flipping, he's going to have to fix it. And that means that he's going to go in and he's going to butcher and he's going to break eggs and he's going to do what no one else can do. And he can do it because he has no allegiance to what happened before. All he wants to do is get rid of all the dead weight, do some restructure, bring out all the value so he can flip it. And just like when with house flippers and everything, basically they get to fix them up, and they turn it into something that someone wants to buy. So I'm much more worried. Like, I'm not worried about what he's doing. I'm worried about him being too successful, and who's going to buy it and how are they going to ruin it.
Well, and that's weird because, again, you know how there was a lot of leaning that way and a lot of talk that kind of indicated that might be something. Like I said, they stopped that kind of divorce talk. Like any inkling that might be something that's in the near future, Andre. So where would you think that they would have that breakup? Where do you think he's going to flip it out? How long do you think that would be?
I think a 5-year perspective.
Oh, okay. So way out. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. I wouldn't think that's like 1 year something. I'm thinking like they see this as a long-term investment, that they invested into acquiring this from AT&T, and they knew that it's going to take time to fix this, and when we do, we're going to profit by hundreds of millions, so it's totally worth it.
Easily. Yeah, and again, I mean, they're looking their positive cash flow was insane. 2.7 billion, I think, is what the headline says. I think that if that sticks, that's insane. And can you imagine that that's going to continue going forward? Do you know what that does? You're not going to pay so much attention to the fact that they missed their number by like a couple hundred million. You're going to be like, there's free cash flow here. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because not only is there like a huge profit on the other end when they do flip it, it's going to be profitable in the meantime too.
Yeah, I'm very confident in David Zaslav, generally speaking, because everything he said he was going to do, he has done. Yeah, he's a businessman, right? So there's no, it's not like he's placating to it all, right? Like it's not like a bait and switch. Everything he said he's going to do, he has actually implemented and is doing it. Yeah. I mean, we're going to mine our IPs. Boom, done. Announced. We're doing this. We've got to deal with this company. We're doing this. We're doing this. We're doing this. Straight away, they are just doing everything they say. So I have a lot of confidence in David Zaslav for running that business, but it'll be interesting to see how it sort of comes around and where it falls.